watching this insightful session by Personality Care Foundation. Is my video or voice is clear? Please let me know. Please comment. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Insightful Session by Personality Care Foundation. Good evening, everyone. Please let me know my video or voice is clear to you. I am Prerna. I am counseling psychologist and I am pursuing my PhD. Today's and as well as today's host. I am a truly owned of host today's webinar on rapport building. Please let me know my video and voice is clear. Please comment me. Everyone is joining. Let us wait for a few minutes. We are live on various platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook. We have updated link in various groups. Let us wait for a few minutes. Certificate link is in description. You can apply from there. Please let me know my video and voice is clear. Good evening, everyone. I want to inform you all that whosoever join us for today's webinar, we add you in a group. After that, you can connect with us in that group. You do not need to register again and again. Please do not leave that group. You will get update from that group. And before we begin, let us take a moment to talk about something that does not just start a conversation, it's transform them. That sometimes is rapport building. Rapport building is not just about a smile or getting or polite small talk. It's all about creating a safe emotional space where two people can truly connect. It is an invisible thread of trust, respect, and understanding that turns to the communication into connection. In counseling, education, healthcare, leadership, or even in personal life, the power of rapport can be overstated. The reason of child opens up to the teacher, a client feels safe with a counselor, or a team trusts their a leader. Without rapport, even the best message can be misunderstood. But within it, even sins can be healing. So, how do we build a rapport? It's begin with the presence, being fully there for other person. It's grow with empathy, listening not just with ears, but with the heart, and the thrive of being real, being a human. Let us ask you all that reflects. The chances that was not about someone said, but how they made you feel. That's a magic of rapport. It does not require perfection, just intention. As we go forward in today's session, I'll invite all you to carry the mindset listen to understand, not just to respond. Be present, not just physically, but emotionally. And above all, the human because the connections begins when we show up as we are. Let us let us invite the today's resource person. A very warm welcome, sir. Very warm welcome to you. Today's resource person is Roger Nawagri. The sir is licensed counseling psychologist, registered with Uganda Counseling Association, American Psychological Association, and European Association of Personality Psychology. Sir is lecturer at Cambago University and psychologist at Sea Care International Hospital, Kampala. Sir is passionate about working with adolescents, doing mental health research related to mental health awareness. Now, sir, it's up to you.
Wow, wow. So thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Like you said, a counseling psychologist. Nice meeting you, everyone. A good evening for Uganda and also that side in India. Like she said, today our major concern is rapport building. Rapport building is very important in all aspects of our life. In most cases, you find that even when you are doing business, or maybe when you are meeting new people, sometimes when you are meeting people that we need support from, rapport building is very important. But when you come back to the counseling setting, rapport is a major thing that helps us to be in a position to connect with our clients and then be in a position to be able to support them so they can overcome the challenge that they go through on daily basis. Maybe quickly, I will just try to find ways on how to make sure that we go straight to the introduction. Uh, let's move introduction. That means according to some definitions, we can say rapport building is a process of establishing a positive, trusting, and empathetic relationship between the counselor and the client. So you need to find ways on how to make sure that in a counseling session, or assuming you're a therapist or maybe the psychologist or counselor, your work is to make sure that you help the client to develop trust in you, and of course feel that you are understanding their situation, and that will help them to be in position to continue with your sessions as well. And so in most cases, we shall say rapport building involves creating a safe space and a comfortable space as well, where the client feels understood, respected, and supported, including allowing them to openly share their thoughts and emotions. So, in other words, we find there are some of the things we shall discuss ahead there, where we shall have to look at the key elements of rapport building, and that is coming ahead. Still, on rapport building, we may need to say it is something that is very important in the aspect of counseling because it helps us to lay a foundation for trust with our clients or patients, those who are working in a hospital setting, and also it enables the client, so patients, to understand us, but also to ensure that what we call effective communication between the counselor and the client. This case can be either psychologist with the client. Right. So that's briefly what we can share on rapport building. Then let's move on to the next slide, please. Yeah. So there are some key personalities who emphasize the element of rapport building, and the major person here is Carl Rogers, who is known to be some good person in under person-centered therapy. And of course, he emphasizes that empathy is very important if you are to build rapport with your clients in your sessions. You must focus on empathy, and then genuineness. We have unconditional positive regard. That is something that is very important. We shall share most of them in details ahead in our slides. And then you also have someone called Ivan, who also talked about the issue of gift of therapy, where he highlights the importance of authenticity and empathy as well. That it is always very important in our sessions as counselors or psychologists to understand And of course, understand our clients. Of course, that means that we have to make sure we focus on establishing a therapeutic relationship. Which relationship must focus on us observing our ethics or professional ethics, and then at the same time setting our clear boundaries such that you are able to help the clients and benefit. Then you also have someone called Allen, who also mentioned about intervention interviewing and counseling. That still has helped. She talks about the developed specific skills for building rapport, including attending behavior. And that one, of course, focuses more on active listening. Then you have what you call empathy as also the key aspect there, which other personalities are mentioned. And then besides that, maybe you can move to the next slide. Next slide, please. All right, so we have other notable researchers who have also done work on rapport building. And we have the silent language that is done by Edward. He explored the role of nonverbal communication. And of course, in doing that, it helps us to understand the patients or clients in our counseling sessions. But also have to put in mind that we have what we call cultural differences that we need to understand. Sometimes someone may be like hugging you, or maybe someone may be nodding their head but meaning something else. So as you're focusing on nonverbal communication, there are some things that you need to take care of, such that the other person doesn't feel offended, maybe when you're having the sessions. And then you have Daniel, also who talked about developing mind, and he goes ahead to discuss the importance of interpersonal neurobiology and empathy in building the strong therapeutic relationship. That you are able to help the person understand who they are. And that's something that is very important. And also, of course, you need to find ways to help them understand their negative thoughts, which can talk maybe go further to explore more the neurobiology. And empathy, like other people have mentioned, are also very important. Okay, so we have the key elements of rapport building in counseling setting. And that's why we need to focus more on how to make sure that we support our patients or clients when the counseling sessions. But maybe before you go there, there's something which is not is not in the slides. We need to also maybe briefly talk about the principles of rapport building. And here we have key principles. We have connection, commonality, and confidence. And what happens is that in connection, you a counselor, you need to find ways on how to make sure that by that kind of establishing the connection, and the client feels that is he or she is heard or understood in the counseling setting, and that of course you'll be able to help them explore their thoughts and also feelings. And then the other commonality issues are, or the other key principles are that in most cases we need to find ways on how to have what we call uh, a common ground where you have the shared interests or experiences that help us bridge the gap between the counselor and the client. And that means it can involve sharing our hobbies. Assuming you're dealing with the adolescent, then that means you find ways on how to speak the language they understand, or something that you can easily connect with. So you can discuss the hobbies, things that they like and what you like. Then you have also have the similar challenges that you're facing in life as a person. There may be some other shared experiences which you may need to highlight as well, so that the person feels you're like part of their life as well. And then you have the confidence that you, as the counselor or psychologist, you need to demonstrate your competence in the counseling setting. And that means You need to have what you call a belief in the therapeutic process. You need to find ways on how to make sure the session flows well. But of course, when a client perceives a counselor as a knowledgeable person, it will increase their trust in their healing process, or maybe in the counseling setting. And of course, that will help them to be in a position to get positive outcomes. So let's still focus back on what is displayed in the slides. We said you have the key elements of rapport building, and number one is talking about empathy. What you're saying empathy is the ability to understand and share the client's feelings and perspectives. Showing genuine understanding and care for the client experience is very important. That's according to Carl Rogers. So in most cases, we say under empathy, there are some common counseling words that you may need to mention maybe when you're in the session, so there's that kind of connection between you and the client. In most cases, in counseling, we emphasize the issue of reflective statements. And if this focus or someone can say, maybe I can say that this is really tough for you. And then someone will say, it sounds like you are feeling overwhelmed right now. And so many other examples. But it says that you also have to focus on validating statements, which may also help you to create rapport with your client or patient. Or you say, this makes sense to me. I can understand why you feel that way. Someone can still say, your feelings are valid. It is okay to feel that way. I can see why you became upset about that. So all those ones, they can help us to build rapport, but that is still under empathy, depending on the situation that the client has maybe brought forward. Or according to how did you look at the presenting concern of the patient. And then we also have what we call reflective, empathetic reflection is, or someone can still say, it sounds like you are feeling really frustrated with this situation. I imagine that must be really painful for you. So you see that something that can help you to make the client feel you understand their situation. And then you can still go ahead and mention supportive statements. Where we'll talk about I'm here for you and I'm going to support you through this. You're not alone in this journey. I'm here to help you. I'm listening and I'm here to support you. All those can help. But that is about rapport. But still, it is concerning the issue of empathy, something that is very important in our counseling process when you are doing rapport building. Then you have examples of empathetic responses. I'll just only give out one, such that you can learn from it. A client can say, I'm just overwhelmed with everything. And then the counselor, you'd love to say, or you'd like to say, it sounds like you're feeling really overwhelmed right now. Can you tell me more about what what is the feeling overwhelming? So it helps them to open up and share more. But it will make them feel like you're understanding their challenge and you're there to support them. So that's about empathy. And then you have what you call active listening as another key element. Or you say this focuses on giving the client your individual attention and responding in a way that shows you are engaged and interested. And that definitely means paying close attention to both verbal and non-verbal cues, demonstrating that the client is heard and understood. So you need to make sure that you are very keen in the session. You understand if someone, you just observe the body movement, and then of course in that way, if they feel that you understand who they are, then they can be able to follow your sessions, and of course the session will flow well. Giving full attention sometimes involves things like maintaining the eye contact and responding thoughtfully. So that means when you're going to respond, you may find ways on how to make sure that you have to mention the word that may be able to reflect what the client has said. But of course, you can do it in a paraphrased way. That can also help you. And then, of course, under non-verbal cues, we said maintaining eye contact is very important. Directly looking at the client, showing the interest and attention in what they are doing. Sometimes you can do the nodding of the head just to show that you're understanding what the client is saying. And sometimes also about to call leaning forward, slightly leaning forward to show engagement and attention. And then you have that open and relaxed body posture. Why keep your body open and relaxed? Avoid crossing your arms and legs. Sometimes you find clients, counselors or psychologists, when they're in the session, is someone sits and is crossing the legs, just showing that kind of like you are someone who is above the other person you are helping. So you need to find ways on how to make sure you avoid that, so the client feels you are part of them. And then the verbal cues, we said reflective listening. And under reflective listening, you have to focus on some key things here as well. We have things like reflecting of emotions. And how do you reflect the emotions of the client? You talk about, you seem really upset about this. You can mention a statement like that. I can sense that you are feeling frustrated. It sounds like you're feeling a lot of anxiety about this situation. So that is part of the reflecting of emotions. And then there's what we call reflecting of content, or unleashing something beneath the challenge. Someone can say, just to make sure I understand you, what you're saying. Or you can also talk about, sounds like you're feeling overwhelmed by all the responsibilities you're carrying. Then someone can say, if I heard you correctly, you're feeling stuck in the situation. But of course, it depends on which kind of presenting concern the client has come with. That's you'll be able to focus on mention the words which are in line with that. They will be doing what we call reflecting content. And then you have reflecting meaning, where you say it sounds like this situation is making you question your self-worth. You have to make sure that you help them understand who they are. And then someone can say, I get the sense that you are feeling like you're not being heard in this relationship. For example, someone comes with a case where they are struggling in their relationship with their partner. It can be boyfriend or girlfriend, and they feel like they're not being understood by their partners. So that's very important also. Then paraphrasing or repeating what the client has said, but using your own words is also very important. It helps the client to understand that, or maybe to know that you're understanding what they're going through. And of course, paraphrasing, there's so many other words you can as well use. We may not also not forget summarizing. That's also very important about active listening. Like you try to make a message very short based on what the client has mentioned. That can also be done at the end of the session, or close to the end of the session, just to capture what you have shared. Then using open-ended questions, it helps you to help the client, to support the client, be in a position to share in detail about what they're going through. So that's the other one. Then we have also what you call confidentiality, and that of course you have to assure the client or patient that whatever you're mentioning in a counseling room or counseling setting ends between the two of you, and doesn't have to go outside. Maybe just in case the client requests that you share with so and so, but professionally, we say whatever we share with the client is always kept confidential. But you have to assure them about that. Otherwise, they may be thinking whatever you're going to share there, you're going to expose them outside. So you find ways on how to make sure you do that. and that will be more helpful on their side. I think we've shared about non-verbal communication already above in the active listening, but this involved you observing the body language, and that means you have to maintain eye contact, sometimes smiling, and like I said, also nodding the head is very important. We also have something called authenticity, which involves being genuine and true to yourself in your interaction with the client. And that means you need to be honest in whatever you're doing. You're someone who is following the clear goals, maybe setting the goals with the client together. Oh, that's very important. Cultural sensitivity. We don't have to forget that the clients come and everyone has their own culture, and therefore there are things that you may do and you feel they're okay with you, but the other person is being affected. So you need to find ways on how to have the client cultural background and their values, what they value so much in their culture, what is very important to them, so that you know what they value and what they don't consider. So there are, and also of course there is something here which I may not forget called congruence. That is by Carl Rogers, of course. You also mentioned the issue of being genuine in interactions, so that will help the client to have trust in you. And then genuineness, of course, we say that is you need to know what you say, be sincere and honest, of course, including transparency in your Catholic relationship. And then unconditional positive regard is talking about accepting the client without judgment, and that creates a safe space for them to have the healing process take place. Then you have the individualized approach, recognizing that each client is unique and tailoring the approach that is able to focus on their specific needs. Sometimes uh, we as counselors or psychologists, we have our counseling approaches that we use, but you may focus on using CBT when the client, it may not work for them. So we sometimes encourage you to find ways on how to make sure you use the approach that is favorable for them, so that they're able to understand you. So that's something very important that you don't have to forget when you're building rapport with our clients or patients. Can you move to the next slide, please? Okay, that's beautiful. So you have some examples there of rapport building in counseling. I think some of them we have just mentioned them above. If I look at them, most of them are being repeated here. We said in the initial session, the counselor might use active listening, like you mentioned above, and also sometimes you may need also to use open-ended questions just to help the client to feel comfortable and build trust. And then you talk about trauma-informed care. That's in case someone has come and they have trauma. You might use empathy and validation to help them uh, or help the client who has experienced trauma feel safe and understood. And then you have cultural sensitivity, like you mentioned above. That's, I think, already covered. Being approachable and friendly is also very important. And of course, that depends on your appearance. How are you? Maybe your face expression can speak a lot. And then asking about the client's journey to the session. Just asking them, okay, how do you make it here? Of course, sometimes at the end of the day, when you're finishing your session, you can as well ask them, how has been the session? Is there anything that has been good for you? Oh, that's very important. But of course, rapport building is always at the beginning of the session, because you're meeting the person for the first time and they don't know you very well. And therefore, you find ways on how to make sure that they understand you and build trust in you. So we also mentioned the issue of using empathy and active listening. just responding the client's emotions and experiences. That can as well help. Remembering the details using them strategically, like for example, recalling the past conversations or mentioning specific details from the previous session can also work. That can be very important when you are having the so-called upcoming sessions. Maybe you're having the second session, so you can, if you can recall what you shared in the past session, then the client knows that you are following up with their situation. And then creating a comfortable and welcome environment. For that case, you say, ensure a physical space is inviting and conducive for open communication. How do you do that? Sometimes you may say, how are you sitting? Your sitting posture may also very important. I think they encourage us as counselors to always sit squarely when you are supporting our patients or clients. Because sometimes we may be dealing with opposite sex, and you may need to be in a position to what? Support them, but with you sitting squarely, which I'm not to demonstrate because you are online. And then we're saying somehow being transparent. I think you also mentioned that explain the process, setting expectations. At the beginning, if you're having going to start a session, then you have to find ways on how to set goals together with the client or the patient, and that will help you to build rapport with them. So that's very important. I think there's something which I am most likely to forget here. There is a we have techniques of building rapport still in the counseling process. I don't know whether you mentioned this, but of course, someone who mentioned the issue of reflective listening, which I had mentioned above, where you say repeating back what the client has said to ensure understanding and show that you're actively listening. So you need to find ways on how to make sure you either paraphrase, but of course, paraphrasing is always encouraged. You find ways on how to measure. You mention what the client has mentioned, but using your own words, as long as you don't change meaning. So they will be able to understand that you are following them. And then open-ended questions, like I said, they help to encourage the client uh, to share their thoughts and feelings. But of course, that will be also called like you. You can use probing just to find those on how to make sure that the client is able to share details of what they are concerned with. Validation is also another technique, which is you have to acknowledge the client emotions and experiences. And some words I've mentioned them above there that you can use when you're doing validation of the client's experiences or emotions. So, but also something called self-disclosure. Of course, this is not in the slides, but of course, I thought it's very important. Self-disclosure is you sharing your personal experience or feelings in a way that is relevant and helpful to the client. You may need to mention something that you have gone through, which is almost similar to what the client has gone through. But you may need to be careful as well, because sometimes someone shares something when they have not even gone through it. And of course, from the looks, the client can be in position to understand. So you do self-disclosure, but in the right way. And then they are asking us why do you think rapport building is very important in counseling? I think we can move to the next slide. Let's move to the next slide, please. Benefits of rapport building in counseling. Are you able to go there? Okay. So somehow when you have rapport building done well in our initial stages of the session, this is what we experience, or maybe this is what we get or gain as counselors or psychologists. We shall have what we call increased trust. The clients are able to trust you, and that means you are most likely to have that client coming back again because they feel you understand their situation. I think I've had so many cases where I've met clients, and someone says, in most cases, I've seen a counselor or psychologist who doesn't understand me, but me, I feel you understand me now because what you're doing is somehow helping me. So in most cases, the clients can identify. And of course, if you have not built rapport well with the client, they cannot be in a position to trust you. Meaning, in most cases, they'll be in a position to they'll just hide or maybe not share everything about what they're going through. And that is something that has to be taken care of as a counselor or psychologist. Because you will be able to do things together simply because they have trusted you. But if they don't trust you, most information will be hidden. And then you have improved communication. When you do rapport building well, you'll have what you call effective communication. And that will help to reduce misunderstandings and conflicts. Simply because the clients feel safe and understood, they're more likely to share openly and honestly. So there will be no lying in whatever they're sharing with you. And that's very important. Then you're saying also have increased client engagement. Why you say a strong rapport can increase the client's engagement and motivation, leading to a better outcomes. So when you have built rapport well at the beginning, it will help you as a counselor or psychologist. You've been in a position to engage with the client very well. And if you have increased engagement in a session where the client is able to communicate how they're feeling, it will help you to support them well. And of course, that will help you to have better outcomes in the session. And then we have sometimes we can talk about the better therapeutic outcomes. In most cases, it will make the client feel comfortable, supported, and of course, research has suggested that strong therapeutic alliance is linked to positive therapeutic outcomes. This one you have laid a very good foundation because rapport building in a session is like you're laying a foundation for your building. If your foundation for the building is very weak, the chances are very high that you may reach at a given stage and the building collapses. Okay, so that's very important. And then we're saying the challenges that we experience during rapport building, and sometimes you have the issue of power dynamics. We're saying the counselor client relationship can be influenced by the power dynamics. Because sometimes you're saying someone is in a session and they're showing that the ones who are leading or the leaders in that session, showing that kind of setting, sometimes it can affect on how you connect with your client or patient. So then you have what we call cultural differences. Sometimes culture differences can create challenges to rapport building because you as a person, you may not be sensitive to the culture of the other person who is your client, or you are not aware of what is not accepted in their culture. So that can affect you in your rapport building process. Then sometimes you have client resistance. Why you're saying some clients may resist to building rapport, and that requires a counselor to be patient and understanding. So you may start to support the client, but of course the client is not fully opening up. Eh? Or maybe you want to say something, sometimes it may not be so clear to them, and therefore they decide not to say anything. I don't know if you have had such cases, those who are counselors here. Then you find it very difficult on how to support this patient or this client who is in session. So then you're saying, how do you overcome the above challenges? There's strategies or solutions. One of them is self-awareness, being aware of your own biases. you as a counselor or psychologist, you may have your own biases, and of course, sometimes cultural background can also help you build a rapport with your clients. Like you understanding yourself first is very important. Knowing what affects you or what may affect the other person. Mm. So you may say sometimes there are things that you focus on you as a counselor or psychologist, and you think that's very important for you. In the other side, or the other on the other person's side is not that. Some that is very good for them. So that may affect you. But of course, you find ways on how to understand yourself such that the other person is also able to understand you. And then you have cultural competence, like developing cultural competence means you can build rapport with clients, of course, based on their cultural diversity. And of course, you had mentioned that at the beginning, where you said the cultural sensitivity is very important. Being aware of the client's culture, eh, respecting their cultural background, and knowing that you're not the same, we are different. Then you're saying flexibility. As a counselor, you need to find ways on how to become more flexible and adaptable so that you can help the client to build rapport. And of course, this may help them uh, to understand or have different needs or expectation is met in the counseling process. And that's very important. I think that is it for me. Thank you for listening. If you have questions, you can ask and then you respond to them.
Thank you so much, sir, for being this enrichful session, for such an informative session. Thank you so much. Feel free to
So
ask any question.
if there are any questions, they can ask, then you can respond to them.
Please free to ask any question you want to share, your thoughts, your some experience. You can comment on.
You can use the comment section.
The session was wonderful.
You can use the comment section. Thank you.
Yeah,
Such that I can keep them and respond to them.
yeah. We appreciate your time, your efforts.
You're welcome.
Sir, if I want to ask something, that if we have conflict between two individuals, how we can rebuild our rapport?
When we have conflict in the two individuals, you said somehow what happens, you need to be patient,
Yeah,
and that means you may give the client time.
yeah,
Sometimes you tend to create a calm environment where the client feels that understood, depending on what they're going through. So you can give it some time, and then afterwards you can move on.
yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Everyone is appreciating you. Nice lecture. Thank you so much, sir. A wonderful session.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a positive response from every side.
Wow, wow, that's great.
Everyone is appreciating you.
That's beautiful.
Certificate link is description. You can apply certificate from there. If someone
Wow.
wants to
So
ask, yes, sir.
it was very important for us meeting. I know there are more upcoming events which I'll be able to meet again and share.
Yeah,
But
we
I'm
will
just so
collaborate
happy
with them with upcoming
I've
sessions. Yeah,
helped people to I have helped to add value to people and also have shared knowledge to other people.
yeah, we will collaborate with you for upcoming sessions. Your session was so wonderful.
Wow, that's beautiful. So I was I think I didn't. And did you understand the universe where I'm coming from at the beginning?
Sir, you are stuck. Can you please repeat?
Did you introduce the universe where I'm coming from? I think you forgot that.
Yeah, we will let you know the upcoming some sessions.
Yeah. So I just want to let the listeners that from Uganda and from the mighty institution called Makere University. It has been wonderful, guys, being able to share with you knowledge. I think maybe one time, like I said at the beginning, we can have a chance of meeting you people in Uganda. Uganda is a beautiful country, and they call it a part of Africa.
Yeah. Sir, some questions are there.
Mm.
Kindly expand
Well,
more
so you
on
can
the power of power dynamic as a challenge in repo building. I do not get it. It is right.
we sort of say, expand more on the power dynamics in the Rapport building. So I was saying, some of what happened here in most cases when a client comes to you not need to tell them that you are the leader. You need to find ways on how to make sure that the two of you are almost at the same level and how we can put that clear. Such that the client doesn't look at you as the one heading you. Eh? I don't know how we can put it, but of course that's how it is. That most cases, some counselors, those psychologists, when a client comes to them, they, need- they put their high status. They're showing that someone above the other person that are ahead of you. Somehow they make them not feel comfortable with you.
Yeah. Sir, another question is there. What is the best way to resolve a conflict between friends?
The best way to go the conflict between friends. I'm wondering where it is coming from. I'm not sure whether is it the person you are meeting for the first time or maybe I'm not with them for the first time. Let me get clear on that question.
Sir, everyone is appreciating. Thank you so much. Thank you, psychologist. It's very wonderful session. Session was very informative.
Uh, Maybe I can help your person. I'm not sure which stage, yeah? But if you are resolving conflict between the
Yeah, it's
group
work.
of friends, sometimes you find ways on how to learn how to respond and react to, and that is you need to find out the detail why this
Yeah,
person is
it's a
saying
basic
that.
thing in counseling to build a rapport between client and patient.
So most people find the ways on how to learn how to make a function like you, so the person is going to understand you.
Yeah, it's a must thing that both have rapport between them.
Mm. Then, so I say not to do it for the first time, but not I think maybe like another meeting, maybe, not for the first time, second time, and they still have conflict. So that is something that you need to put my phone by you. You find ways on how to learn to respond and react compared to the
Yeah. Anyone want to ask some questions? You want to share some experience? You can comment. Yeah, you have to pay some minimum amount of fees for your certificate. Certificate link is in description. You can apply from there. I think, sir, no such queries there. We can wind up. Thank you so much,
so,
sir, for being the part of
thank you so
Personality Foundation. Hope we will collaborate
much.
with another webinars. Thank you so much, sir, for appreciating, giving your valuable time to us.
Alright, I appreciate you so much for organizing. Bye bye for now. See you again next time.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.